the Irish guy, and June was filled with weird football transfers, wasn't it? Transfers that nobody saw coming, and to prove it, I'm gonna find the weirdest worldwide transfer every day of the month. Well, I mean, from the 5th of June onwards, because nothing really happened in the first 5 days. All the chairmen were probably too busy drinking margaritas on a beach in Magaluf, obsessively checking Fabrizio Romano's Twitter feed as their children accidentally drowned in the swimming pool. So lads, let's take a look at every day's weird transfer. Right, let's go. 5th, Kulusevski to Atletico Madrid. Okay, to be fair, this deal was sort of completed in April, but I went through at the start of June, and well, Kulusevski should kiss his agent in the face. I know when he initially replaced Harry Maguire in the Leicester defence, the Turkish giant centre-back looked so good, he's getting into the mega money move to Man City. Honestly, it was going to be another 80 million quid, but he'd have just been the Turkish Maguire. His performances for club and country the last couple of years have been absolute wet puke. Not only was he part of that embarrassing relegation with Leicester, but he was also part of the Turkish mess at Euro 2020 and failed to qualify for the World Cup. And now he gets rewarded with a move to Atletico Madrid. Considering this is a few months after Diego Simeone unironically signed Matt Doherty. I mean, is this the early signs of senility? Should we also check that Simeone isn't also walking naked through Tesco's at midnight and chucking empty milk cartons at cats? Because this is just weird. 6th, Karim Benzema to Al Ittihad. £172 million a year to play football. Lads, this Karim Benzema transfer from Real Madrid to Al Ittihad will forever be seen as one of the biggest game changers in world football. I bet I got David Beckham practically gave birth to the MLS. Even more so than Cristiano Ronaldo moving to the desert, because Benzema is the more recent Ballon d'Or winner. He is currently the better player. And so this one has left a huge crack in the universe, as if Susan Boyle sat on a plastic couch. 7th, Lionel Messi to Inter Miami. Okay, I'm not sure if this is 100% official yet, but the news was broken on the 7th that Lionel Messi had actually chosen to swap PSG for Inter Miami. A club who just sacked Phil Neville. He's going to be playing in the same team as DeAndre Yedlin and Phil Neville's son. So officially, we actually have an Irish right back who's going to be training with Messi every day. I found out it was also on the books of both Manchester clubs and Valencia. Get Harvey in the Ireland team. 8th, Jack Butland to Rangers. I am relieved. Finally, Jack Butland has gotten back to making transfer decisions that will actually benefit his career. I think we all know this, being a former England international goalkeeper joining Manchester United last season. It was a bit like watching Joe Hart being tricked by the allure of Jose Mourinho at Spurs. Both men could not resist the temptation of being wanted by a big club again, but wound up quickly regretting it when they both rotted away eating sandwiches on the bench. Weirdly, both Butland and Hart made their names at Birmingham. Their careers are very similar, so it's kind of fitting they're now enemies in the old firm. Moving to Celtic was probably the best decision Hart has ever made since quitting Shrewsbury in 2006. And similarly, I am happy for Butland that he's gone back to making sensible decisions, because he's made them before. Like when he turned down Chelsea at 19, he was only ever going to be asked to make Peter check his coffee at Stamford Bridge. Back then, I was refreshed to see a kid say no to being the next Ross Turnbull, which is why it was sad to see him last season being so broken and miserable that he now accepted being another Tom Heaton. But no, clearly his agent or his mum just slapped him in the face or chucked cold water in his eyes, because he's now Rangers #1. I did not see this coming, but I'm happy for the guy. 9th, Naby Keita to Werder Bremen. So it's over. It's actually finished. Just like that. Am I the only one who thought that Naby Keita at Liverpool is still at unfinished business? It always felt like the fans were always waiting for him to come back from injury and finally show his true self. Maybe it's because his move from RB Leipzig was such a drawn out transfer saga. I never really ever saw Jurgen Klopp giving up on him and letting him move to Werder Bremen at 28 on a free. The narrative was that Klopp has never really bought any flops, right? But I guess considering this guy is a nearly £50 million Liverpool buy, and he's now just joining a team who finished 13th in the Bundesliga for less than the price of a Kit Kat. Is Keita now the official Liverpool disaster dud? 10th, Yuri Tielemans to Aston Villa. I didn't see this coming. I really didn't. Yuri Tielemans always struck me as a fellow who thought that he was better than he was and was owed such a bigger club than Leicester City. And I mean, he'd already done the Europa League thing with the Foxes. Surely he would sneer down his nose at another crack at the Europa Conference League with Aston Villa. Surely he now thought that Thursday Night Football was beneath him, and especially considering he's leaving Leicester on a free. I thought he would spend the entire summer naively holding out for a move to Arsenal, despite the fact he just sulked through the last 18 months, showing the tenacity and hunger of a mild-mannered badger. But no, he instead just joins Villa in the first week of June. Fair play. Oh, and by the way, lads, if you're new here, you all know, I'm trying to overtake Rory Jennings in subscribers. We can do it for the good of humanity. But also, a quick interruption to let you know that this video is sponsored by Manscaped. Yes, I have spoken about them 1,000 times. If you don't know who they are, you have probably spent the last 18 months living in a coffin underground. But alright then, for you blinded zombies with drool on your chin, pretty simple. Shave your nose hairs. Lads, Manscaped is here to help you out with the Weed Whacker 2.0, which will annihilate your nose hairs. It can be found in the Performance Package 4.0. So to save money, go to manscaped.com and use the code FOOTY to get 20% off and free shipping. But inside the package, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag. The Lawnmower 4.0. Again, no, it's not used to chop down daffodils unless you grow flowers on your thigh. It features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents, has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multifunction on and off switch, and gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off. And it's waterproof, but please don't shave your privates in a pool. You'll probably wind up on the internet and wanted by police. Lads, Manscaped will give you everyone who watches this channel a huge 20% off and free shipping when you use the code irishguy20 at checkout. So go now. 11th Hossam Award to Roma. As somebody who wants Roma to do well, I'm not sure whether I should be so unbelievably excited by this, or I accidentally wee onto my shoes. I don't know whether this is a good move. All I know is that it's weird. Lads, I don't know what it is about Lyon playmakers, but they always have a couple of years where they are promised the world, linked with the biggest and best clubs on the planet, only to finally leave France in a really anticlimactic move that just makes you think, really? Them? I mean, if you don't believe me, where do you want to start? So the Lyon playmakers I'm about to mention were all seen as world-class superstars while at the club, but their next moves were a bit meh. Janino Pernambucano left Lyon for Al Jarafa. Miralem Pjanic walked out on them for Roma. Johan Gourcuff left for Rennes. Nabil Fekir transferred to Real Betis. And Bruno Guimaraes and Lucas Paqueta both signed up for instant relegation battles with Newcastle and West Ham. And now Aouar. 3 years ago, he was the #1 transfer target for Arsenal. But I knew things were strange when he nearly signed for Nottingham Forest last year. Clearly this recently reformed Algeria international is actually just an overrated Barbie doll who hoodwinked the media into believing that he was class. Anyway, at the age of 25, he's just signed for Roma. 12th, Yankuba Minte to Newcastle. Yeah, Newcastle just bought 18-year-old winger Yankuba Minte from Danish club Odense Bold Club for €7 million. I mean, this is a guy who was born in the Gambia. The Gambia? Sounds like an ominous nightclub. He also began his career with Steve Biko FC. Steve Biko. He just sounds like a recently retired postman who winds up on the news for turning up outside Asda to meet a 14-year-old girl. But anyway, Minte, is he good? I don't know. It's definitely a transfer I never saw coming because I didn't know who he was. 13th, James Milner to Brighton. Lads, Brighton have done some bizarre business. The players they're signing, nobody saw these coming 6 months ago, and especially this one. James Milner has just joined the 6th Premier League club of his career. This man has been playing week in, week out in this league, in this elite division, since 2002. That is over 20 years since he probably tucked into a pizza. He probably forgets what a burger tastes like. There's a man who probably celebrates New Year's Eve by pushing the boat out to sip on a Capri Sun. This man is every inch as professional as Cristiano Ronaldo. It's just that he's got the natural talent of a melted chocolate bar. But this transfer, signing an absolute leader and winner like Milner on a free, when the media have been willing him to rejoin Leeds for years, he probably could have dropped down a division to return to Ellen Road. I mean, he turns 38 in January. Nobody would have batted an eyelid. But he's instead joining a Europa League team at 37. Lads, of his last 5 transfers, dating back to 2004, Milner has always joined a team who were in the Europa League. Newcastle, Aston Villa, Man City, Liverpool, and now Brighton, all in the Europa when they signed Milner. Wow! That is ridiculously mental. 14th, João Pedro to Brighton. I maintain this is a strange deal. To be fair, this transfer was actually announced in May, but this officially went through halfway through June. And I don't know, it's gonna be weird to see my eyes adjust to João Pedro in a Brighton shirt. Namely because last year, he absolutely looked odds on to quit Watford for Newcastle. Yeah, considering he was off the back of a 3-goal Premier League season, most Geordies looked at the Brazilian as if he was chewing seaweed out of a cat's bum. They didn't want this bloke. But instead, he scores 11 in the championship and has been bought for 30 million quid. You know what, I know 30 million is a lot of money, but he's probably going to be a top Brighton buy, and it's quite fitting that Brighton, the hipster club, all their fans can now wear t-shirts saying vote for Pedro. 15th, Giovanni Simeone to Napoli. Nothing really too weird about this, really. He was on loan there last season, but Giovanni Simeone is a striker who scored 4 goals for Napoli last season. Was that really enough to buy him for 10 million quid? 18th, Mahmoud Dahoud to Brighton. Again, Brighton. Did anybody see this coming? Anyone at all? Nope. Syrian German midfielder Mahmoud Dahoud has been a pretty integral player at Borussia Dortmund ever since joining from Borussia Mönchengladbach in 2017. This is a man just 3 years off 30 and has never left German football ever. So now, after an injury-destroyed season, where he missed nearly every match with a shoulder injury, honestly, that must have been such a bad one. To the extent where he probably couldn't even pour a bowl of Frosties without screaming out like a drunk Peppa Pig, to now wrap up a weird, mysterious, free transfer to Brighton. It is a little bizarre. 17th, Romeo Beckham to Brentford. I'm not really sure what's going on here. I thought Romeo Beckham signing for Brentford B on loan in January was just a gimmick. A strange publicity stunt. Like when Mark Wright wound up at Crawley. Just something so his dad could sell more perfume. I mean, this is a kid who took 6 years off from football to just play tennis in his garden. Although he had Andy Murray as a coach. Of course he did. He probably has Beyonce to cook him his meals. This fella probably constantly has an actual silver spoon lodged in his nose to the point where he probably sneezes blood whilst watching TV. Honestly, he quit Arsenal in 2015 and only took up playing soccer again in America when he was 19. And now he's actually left the comfort of his dad's into Miami on a permanent basis to join Brentford. He has actually ditched the opportunity to at the very least train with Messi and Busquets to play with a bunch of snotty teenagers for the B team of the Bees. Fair play. 18th, Dejan Kulusevski to Tottenham. Yeah, this isn't really weird at all. Tottenham tying up a £25 million permanent deal for Juventus winger Dejan Kulusevski. But nothing else really happened on the 18th, so next. 19th, Joselu to Real Madrid. One of the weirdest transfers I have ever seen. I mean, I have done an entire video dedicated to this bonkers deal. Joselu. Actual Joselu. The Stoke and Newcastle flop. The fellow who's just been relegated to the Segunda Division with Espanyol at the age of 33. He's actually signed for Real Madrid on loan. This is his second spell at the Bernabeu. Did they not work out the first time that he had the first touch of a decapitated goat? Bizarre. 20th, N'Golo Kante to Al Ittihad. Remember when everyone used to pretend that N'Golo Kante didn't actually like money? That he thought it was just icky and that he'd be happy to play for free? Yeah, tell that to his bank account now. It's funny, as his Chelsea contract ticked out, you had the likes of Man United and Liverpool fans debating whether or not it'd be worth it to pinch him on a free. Nah, he had no intention of sticking around Europe because he's instead off to make £3 million a week at Al Ittihad. There's a man who was teased for driving a bang average car. Ben Chilwell said this guy hates spending money. Oh, does he? Because with his first paycheck, he just splashed out on an actual Belgian football club. Has he ever been to Belgium in his life? There's a guy who everyone tried to pretend wouldn't even splash out for a new phone, that he probably lives in a caravan and still asks his mum to cook him food. Yeah, no, he's overnight turned into one of the richest athletes in the world and become an actual president. We got Kante all sorts of wrong. 21st, Evan Ndika to Roma. This is a bit of Cosmo War because Evan Ndika, for a while there, this French centre-back was absolutely in demand. When he helped Eintracht Frankfurt win the Europa League last year, the man literally had every major club in the Premier League sniffing around his face. I'm guessing he and his agent probably spent last summer doing excited dances in their kitchen. He was on top of the world. His mummy probably kept calling him Evan Almighty, despite that film being about as funny as a squirrel's corpse. But again, like OR, the hype dried up to an extent where he changed international allegiance inside the last year. OR swapped France for Algeria, and Ndika took his French hopes in the bin to play for Ivory Coast. And yeah, now has also signed a 5-year deal at Roma on a free. Don't get me wrong, incredible shopping from Jose Mourinho, but I mean, this guy was once a £50 million target for both Manchester clubs, and now he's just gonna play with Chris Smalling? 22nd, Dzeko to Fenerbahce. This is a depressing move. 40 years, Dzeko was a man defying his age. Considering this is a fellow who scored just 4 league goals in his final season at Man City 8 years ago, surely the writing was on the wall for this man to be a washed up donut playing in the Indian League by now. I thought his fate was gonna be the same as Wilfred Boney's. Instead, he went on to score nearly 200 goals in Italian football. This Bosnian striker literally just played in a Champions League final this month, and you're now 37, the guy's chucked in the towel, forfeiting his dignity to move to the Turkish Super League to play in the same Fenerbahce team as Ryan Kent and Josh King. 23rd, Ruben Neves to Al Hilal. Oh, Ruben, what have you done? Ruben Neves is a man who was so close to making the perfect move in his career. I think Neves was the most patient man in world football over the last 6 years. Imagine being Porto's youngest ever captain. Imagine being in the Portugal team at 18, and then you move to Wolves in the Championship, where again, everybody has been telling you that you're far too good for this club. Well, it's fine. He was finally going to quit Molyneux this summer for Barcelona. I mean, it was all agreed, right? Despite the fact that the club can barely afford sandwiches in the canteen, despite the fact that the likes of Lewandowski and Rafinha probably have to wash their own kits in the bath, despite the fact that the club staff probably have to rob cookies from Girl Scouts to feed their families, it was okay. Neves was going to join Xavi's Spanish champions in the summer. Nah, instead he got bored of waiting, flushing his patience down the loo, and instead joined Al Hilal for 300k without tax, which is around £600,000 a week in English football. Sure, it's a lot of money, and he can probably now afford to live in a palace and pretend that he's a prince. But this is the exact same move that Mateus Pereira did when he left West Brom. The winger was linked with Liverpool, and then he moved to Al Hilal, and we never heard from him again. So This is just weird. 24th, Justin Kluivert to Bournemouth. This is a strange move. Don't tell me that it's not. Justin Kluivert is a 24-year-old winger, but it's around 5 years ago, when he was practically #1 target on Man United's shopping list, Jose Mourinho was obsessed with this guy. But clearly, after working together at Roma, he's now understood that most of the hype just came from who his daddy was. Honestly, I guess he's just a Dutch Tom Ince, because everyone has seemed to accept by now that he's got the end product of a tuna cheeseburger. If his father Patrick wasn't such a major world star, then maybe poor old Justin really would just be a junior bus driver in Amsterdam. Listen, a move to England was always inevitable, because didn't Justin live in Newcastle for a year when he was 5? Probably having to get used to the fact that his mummy's breast milk now tasted like Greg sausage rolls. Listen, this is a big name player for little old Bournemouth, but I just remember the last big name winger that Cherry signed from Roma. That was Wannick Turby back in 2016, and he was about as pointless as a dead sheep. So, yeah, this is weird. I can see Justin K flopping while his superstar dad sits in the grubby Bournemouth stands, hoping nobody asks him about the time he avoided prison. 25th, Kalidou Koulibaly to Al Hilal. Kalidou Koulibaly was on nearly £300,000 a week at Chelsea, locked into a 4-year deal, despite being over the hill chubby centre back who's now less reliable than a dog with a punctured bladder. I never thought Koulibaly would quit Stamford Bridge after a year, because I didn't think anybody would be stupid enough to match those monster wages. And then Al Hilal have come along, giving him a contract worth €30 million a season. He is being rewarded for a flop campaign where he helped Chelsea finish 12th, and now he's off to live like a king in a league where, yeah, they probably do have to scrape camel poo off the pitch at half time. 26th, Mateo Kovacic to Man City. This was one of the most unpredictable transfers of the list. Mateo Kovacic is a decent midfielder, yes, but he's also a 29-year-old Croatian player who, again, just had a pretty dreadful season at Chelsea, where they wound up with nearly 10 points less than Fulham. You would not think that now would be the opportune moment where Manchester City decided to snap him up for 20 million quid. It's just so weirdly random. He's been at Chelsea 5 years. If Pep Guardiola secretly liked him, why didn't he make a move before now? Instead, last summer choosing to buy a bloated pumpkin like Calvin Phillips from Leeds. Finding out that Pep has secretly been coveting Kovacic in private. It's been like finding out that your cousin fancies your mum. It's all just a bit weird. 27, Teemu Pukki to Minnesota United. Teemu Pukki has had the strangest career. This is the guy who had the most symmetrical time of it at Carrow Road. In his first 2 championship seasons, he scored 29 and 26 goals. And in his only 2 Premier League seasons, he scored 11 goals and 11 goals. That is a consistently identical 4 years. But last season he broke the mold, only netting 10, and so now at 33, he's been ruthlessly turfed out to the MLS. 28th, Kai Havertz to Arsenal. Who saw this coming? Nobody. Chelsea's Champions League winner Kai Havertz being allowed to cross London and join their rivals Arsenal for just £65 million. Essentially, Chelsea just getting their money back for a fella who's immortalised in their history. It's going to look very weird to see a man who literally won Chelsea the Champions League playing for Arsenal before he's even turned 25. Even seeing him in an Arsenal shirt, it's been like your eyes trying to adjust to seeing Piers Morgan in his mother's skirt. It's like watching a vegan tucking into a steak. It's like seeing Santa Claus giving birth to an elf. It's just odd. 29th, Timothy Weah to Juventus. This is just another example of somebody getting a big move through their daddy's connections. Timothy Weah, son of legendary George, you know, a former Ballon d'Or winner and literal president of a country in Africa. Yeah, Timothy was on the books at PSG, did nothing much unknown at Celtic, and then moved to Lille, where he has scored 8 goals in 107 games. He is supposed to be a converted winger, and yet as the end product of a blind milkman. But what's weird is that last season for Lille, he actually played a lot of games either as a left back or a right back, which would explain the 0 goals and 2 assists all year. But bear in mind, this is a guy who's played up front for the USA. He's played more games throughout his career as a centre forward than anywhere else on the pitch, and yet, what's happening here? He's getting bought by Juventus to, what, play right back? I'm very confused. 30th, Roberto Firmino to Al Ahly. I could touch on Ruben Loftus-Cheek going to AC Milan, but it looks like that's going to be in the July edition of this video. So instead, it looks like Roberto Firmino is today going to wrap up a 3-year deal at Al Ahly to join Edouard Mendy and Madou Barrow. Everyone thought that this Brazilian baller would have had the ambition and drive to swap Liverpool for one of the big boys in Spain. But no, I guess, even at 31 years of age, this man is more attracted to gold than Captain Jack Sparrow. It is just a bit sad. Anyway, that's it. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. What was the weirdest transfers of the month to you? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, as always. Talk to you in a while.